In the past, many peasants did not have land to farm. To earn a living, they had to work as long term laborers in the households of landlords, also known as carrying work. Understand this, it's very hard, not to mention anything else, because there's no Sunday. Every day you have to work, and generally you can only get some grain distributed once a year to take back home. By year end, the landlord would treat the hired laborers to a good meal, then pay each of them their wages or grain for the year, allowing the laborers to go home for the new year. Come back to work in the spring. It is said that there were several hired hands who worked at a landlord's house dozens of miles away from their home. That year, the harvest was good, and the landlord treated everyone to a meal of dumplings and some wine in the evening. Everyone received their wages. People back then were honest, unlike now when they often don't pay migrant workers. After a few people got their money, they were very happy. Originally, they were supposed to leave tomorrow morning, but everyone was too excited. It had been a year since they last saw their wives, and they had also drunk some alcohol. Impulsively, they decided to go back tonight. They had walked dozens of miles and arrived at midnight. The landlord understood the situation and advised them that the road was not safe because it was a time of war and there were corpses everywhere. He advised them not to go, but the young people did not listen and insisted on departing. Not long after starting out, it began to snow. Several people, emboldened by alcohol, pressed on through the snow. But it was indeed very cold, and the night had grown deep, making it even colder. Fortunately, everyone was young and could still endure it. But when they were almost home, it was already very late, and everyone's physical strength had reached its limit. At that time, they wore patched cotton coats, unlike now with leather jackets or down coats. The weather was very cold. Just as everyone was both cold and drowsy, they suddenly spotted a firelight at the foot of the mountain ahead. When they went over to check, they found several people warming themselves by the fire. At this point, everyone became very excited, finally able to get warm. Walk over and talk to the people roasting by the fire, but those people seemed reluctant to talk, just keeping their heads down and roasting. Several hired hands no longer carry anymore. They gathered around the fire. Among the laborers was an older man with more experience. As soon as he sat down, he noticed that the people warming themselves had an unusual expression on their faces, and his heart immediately sank. Later, they found that the fire was not hot at all. The more they roasted, the colder it became. Perhaps because his mind was clear, he stood up immediately and took a few companions with him, saying, "We're almost home. Let's hurry on our way." But none of his companions would listen to the advice, insisting on roasting it a little longer. The person had no choice but to leave alone, going home to get help, knowing that continuing like this would be dangerous. When he got home, it was already daylight. He quickly made arrangements to return with the villagers, but when he arrived there, he found that several farm laborers had already frozen to death, sprawled in all directions. There was no living person around, only a few skeletons were scattered everywhere. An old person said those few people must be ghosts frozen to death, lighting ghost fires at night, specifically waiting to absorb the warmth from living people's bodies.